Welcome to Ben Matters Podcast, where combat sports, mindset, and real-life lessons collide. Hosted by Derving and Nate, we dive into jiu-jitsu, wrestling, MMA, and the grind that shapes athletes inside and outside the mat. Every episode we bring stories, strategies, and raw conversations that fuel growth, resilience, and community. Stay tuned because it's more than a fight, it's a lifestyle. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Man Matters, where we talk about what happens on the mat and how it translates to life off of it. And today we got one of the craziest combat sports in history. I'm not even exaggerating. We're talking about the UFC putting on an event at the White House. Let that sink in. Not Vegas, not Abu Dhabi, not Madison Square Garden, that White House lawn. Some may say that's a January 6th 2.0 tied to the 250th anniversary of the United States. This isn't just a fight card, it's a statement. This feels like a Super Bowl, the Olympics, and a blockbuster fight night all roll into one. And the question that keeps coming back to is, are we watching the peak of the UFC, or are we watching the beginning of something even bigger? Because this isn't just about fights anymore. This is sport turning into full-scale entertainment spectacle. And at the same time, we got one of the most unbelievable combat stories in combat sports history. Ben Askren, a guy who literally almost died, double lung transplant, now stepping back into competition. So today we're breaking it all down. UFC Freedom 250, the biggest fights on the card. What this event actually means for the future of MMA, and what Askren return sets competition, purpose, and identity. Let's get into it. How's it going, man?
It's going good. How are you?
Doing good. Do you feel the freedom? Yeah. Do you hear that freedom bell thing ringing?
Yeah.
Cling, cling, cling. Let freedom ring. Where is that? When the eagle something? There's an American song that when the eagle something. It does remind me of whenever it's an old song. Like, I'm patriotic as fuck. Well, the only one I've seen now is who is it? Toby Keith. What is that one song? Something to Red, White, and Blue.
I know the song you're referencing. I don't know the name of it.
Damn, I have to look it up now. Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. That's what it is.
That's right. Yep.
Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. American AF. Well, that's the most patriotic I've ever seen in the United States. Was post 9/11. Not as patriotic as now, but it's legitimate patriotic. But now going back to UFC Freedom 250. This event is historic. First time UFC is hosting an event at the White House, and it's outdoors, which means this is not a typical controlled environment. Currently, they're predicting it's going to be in the 90s, high humidity,
Gosh.
and possibly rain.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's a 25% chance of rain that night.
My gosh.
I think 24 or 40% chance of rain. And they brought some weird claw there. They brought it in from overseas to put over that. But I don't know what the purpose of that claw is. Because I saw in the countdown.
Law?
It's like a four legs, like literally like a claw. You see massive claw at the White House. They actually had to bring it to Canada and had to put it together, or to Philadelphia, something like that, to put it together. And had to drive it down. Most of the things popping out is the lawsuit. There was some sort of lawsuit that they were doing so you can pull the event because it's not it's considered the resources they're using for this, and also something about parks. National Park Services violated federal law by organizing a private sporting event on public property and failed to obtain congressional approval for the event's multiple construction sites. That's most of the time shown here. The suit claims a violation of Park Service regulations by allowing the event to occur, that the construction of the USC Claw Stadium structure at the South Lawn needed congressional authorization because it is a federal parkland, and that there was not an environmental review Why is it, what environmental effect is it going to be? Is it the grass that's being affected?
Yeah, probably it's probably nothing, but they probably just saying that to cause more problems.
Yeah, because Sue mentioned that only events at the White House and Lincoln Memorial in its violation allegations. Yeah, I don't know how many people are going to be there too. Because
I don't know. Yeah, I don't feel like there could be that many.
no, have you been to the White House? It's not that big. The
Right,
White House itself and the lawn is the only reason it's that long is so that people won't be able to get to the White House that fast.
right.
But it's not that
Yeah,
big of a lawn to host a big event because you have to put the octagon, you have to bring the production stuff and all the stuff in there. It's not that much room that you have in there for this kind of thing.
yeah. The White House security hasn't been the best for a little
Mm,
while either.
yeah,
People made it across that lawn that weren't supposed to be there.
yeah. Well, they have like a shooter a few weekends ago on a Sunday.
Well, I didn't know about that.
There was a shooter there. They kill him, but he was somebody that was crazy too. He used to say he was the second coming of the Messiah and stuff like that.
Shit.
So he's like crazy, he's
Yeah.
like medically crazy. But he just started shooting outside the White House and he got killed. But that's because yeah. So security wise, it is a nightmare because you have this going on. You have a war going on. You also have a World Cup starting the same week. So all these people that are coming from different countries.
Yeah. True.
It's like security wise, it has to be a nightmare trying to keep control. Where's the threat coming from? What can you do about it?
Yeah. No, that's curious. I don't know. We'll see how they do it.
Yeah, because it's crazy. I wouldn't want to be working that weekend,
No.
but it's like they said they have backup canvases for there's gonna be a slippery canvas regardless whether it rains or not because it's humidity.
Yeah. Right.
It's gonna be freaking hot, humid. So it's unpredictable this thing. And as far as the game plan, what do you do as a fighter?
No. I really. Yeah. There's so much variation there. I mean, yeah. A lot of times they do train in the heat, though. I feel
Hmm.
like, they're not necessarily in AC gyms
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah,
So,
but talk about your footing was
yeah, true. That would be a
is. Do
huge factor.
you think this favors grapplers in this case because you have to keep it close contact because if striking try a high kick you fall slip and fall.
Hmm. True, true. Yeah, maybe, but also if you take a shot on a slippery floor, you might also just, face plant.
Yeah, you have to try to keep it as close to the cage as possible and the
Yeah,
edge of the cage. And you get points deducted for holding the cage too.
yeah. It's the
Fingers
only way I
move.
can stand up.
Yeah, trying to stand up, ref. Meanwhile, the referee is liberating himself too.
Yeah,
He got wearing soccer cleats so he won't fall. But yeah, I keep like that's a different factor you have to take into a fight because you have to. Yeah. Well, what's the name? Topuria, he trains in Miami. He's been down there.
that's true.
So me say. So he might be something they can train for. Do you feel like with these factors included, do you think it feels more like old school Valetudo back in like the day they used to do fights? Because I remember people have stories like about they used to fight outside strip clubs when they have like those cages. Yeah, sometimes it will rain when they will be there. It turns to a slip and slide canvas when trying to fight somebody.
Dang,
Sometimes like you will be a hole in the canvas or one of the canvas you can go in the inside because it was freaking nightmare.
that's crazy. I mean, we'll have to see. The UFC does tend to get pretty creative
Yeah,
whenever they run into stuff like this. They tend to be a little surprising.
yeah,
So I have a hard time believing that, rain or humidity will completely throw them off.
yeah. Especially this half stake card that it is. It's one of one. It reminds me of UFC No Share because UFC No Share that 1 year that was one of one in the sphere, and that was they run that was pretty good event. The production, everything that they did, it was really good. So we'll see how they do. Also, that was under ESPN. This is on the Paramount Plus now. Under production is gonna be like, but they have to have that. I mean, it's not that they don't have money; they have enough freaking advertising money that they have during the fights to get it done.
True.
But we'll see how it does. Because this, like, yeah. And I wonder what the lockers are gonna be like. Because remember lockers condition, like,
I've been wondering about that. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
warm ups.
I don't know. But that may be the multiple construction sites, is they probably have some enclosed area for that.
Yeah, some sort of trailers or something like that.
Yeah, true, true.
Close by.
I wouldn't be blown away if they did some kind of like dehumidified air directly on the octagon or something like that.
Yeah, try to keep it from getting too muggy. Especially as the night goes on, the night dudes are gonna be a factor as well.
Yep. Yep. Although it's not a late card, it starts at 8. So
Mm-hmm. The main card starts at 8. Wow, I thought it's gonna be like a 9 or 10.
I don't even see prelims on here. I just see the main card.
Well, probably that's why it's so limited.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense. You only have a few fights. You only have to control it for a little while. It's probably much more manageable that way.
Yeah, because some fighters are not even allowed to be there. You see
Right.
that Sean Strickland
Yeah.
be mad about it. Yeah, it's only the main card. There's no prelims.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it should be over by 10.
Yeah, 10, 11, something like that. Considering the last two are gonna be title fights.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's one thing that Dina was they asking today is people banned from this. Like apparently everybody's banned from it, but it's not that they're banning. It's just only allowed to have a handful. I think it's only 20 fighters that are going to be at the event, or like as spectators, because there's not that many seats that they have in there, anyways. So they were able to accommodate, and then they said they were giving I don't know how many tickets they were giving away for a nearby park that we're going to use for this. But that might be what they would be using for some of the fighters that if they want to see it, they see it for a nearby park or something like that. Less of a nightmare. Because yeah, like I said, security. You had only have a couple of people at any time in the White House. Because they do other things. They do like press conference. Sometimes they do like Easter. They do like events there at the White House. But it's only a handful of people can be there. That's that many people and be there. But for the main card breakdown, we're gonna start with the main event. Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. This is such a clean stylistic contrast. Poirier is precise, calm, calculated. Meanwhile, the highlight, Gaethje, is chaos, pressure, violence. This is literally precision versus chaos. Now, here's the real question: who gets to fight their fight? If Poirier controls the distance, picks his shot, he finds a finish. But if Gaethje drags him into the war, that's where things get interesting because Gaethje thrives in chaos. And we're seeing guys with cleaner technique break under the pressure. So the debate becomes: is Gaethje still in his prime, or is Topuria the next guy, that new dominant superstar? What do you think?
It'll be interesting to see because Gaethje's been surprising before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Tuporia's power is pretty intimidating, I feel like, but Gaethje can also take a hit. So we'll see. This should be a good match, I think.
Yeah, in Gaethje, it's scary how Topuria, like you said, he is. Dude, that would be wild. The least is if able to knock out Gaethje. He already knocked out Alexander Volkanovski, Max Holloway, Oliveira. He knocked all of them. Charles do Bronx, Oliveira. Like, and now he knocks out Gaethje. That'd be wild. But he said he predicted he's going to put him out in 2 minutes, Gaethje. But Gaethje said, well, that is interesting that you said that because second round comes, you haven't knocked him out. Third round comes, you talk all this shit now. It's gonna be on your head. But the last fight that Gaethje went that far was against Max Holloway, and he got his way. Remember from the BMF.
Right. But Max, yeah.
Max is Max.
Max is yeah, exactly. He's a different kind of beast as well.
He has a lot
So
of chaos too.
yes, yep, yeah. We'll see. I mean, Topuria. I mean, I think Gaethje's right. If he can last the first round, I think that will be a big knock to Topuria's stance. You know, I think that'll be a little bit like a knock to his confidence.
Yeah. I can't remember how if Topuria has gone that far. 5 rounds.
I'm not sure. Yeah, that's a good question.
Because that would be a different thing, or a different game plan for him. Because you know how he's when how he does in deep waters.
Right, exactly. I mean, that really can break people fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm. Even the decision with Emmett, that was 5 rounds. Josh Emmett.
Okay, so he's done that before.
Yeah. But Josh Emmett is a vet too. He's not a punk. So he had to go on
Yeah.
decision. He can finish him.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, like you said, Gaethje thrives on the chaos. If he can create that chaos that he likes,
Yeah.
who knows?
And he loved getting people saying, look how he did too. I want to keep going back to Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Because he was supposed to be that boogeyman, Tony Ferguson. And he slaughtered the boogeyman round by round.
Yes, yes. And I didn't think going into that fight that he had any chance, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he just dominated.
Yeah. One thing about his chaos, go ahead.
No, I was just go for it.
The one thing about Gaethje, his chaos, his technique was different his last fight against Paddy Pimblett. If the same Gaethje shows up for this fight, I don't see him coming out of the first round.
No?
No, because he was coming in wild, like his head up, and
Yeah.
the way that he was attacking, and he just hunting for the guy. He's not the Tony Ferguson. He was really patient. He was hitting a nice switch kick. He had a fast switch kick. He also had a left hook that every time Ferguson was coming out of a combination, he was tagging him with that. So every time Tony Ferguson would throw a combination, he was bracing for that because he wasn't stopping it. That's what pulverized Tony Ferguson's face. That he was shaking his face, just blood spilling everywhere. Remember that?
Yes.
It was that hook that he had, and he hits hard too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That is the thing. I mean, I feel like the few fights he had before the fight with what's the one he lost? You just mentioned it. The
Holloway.
Holloway, yeah. I
Mhm.
feel like the fights before that he was doing extremely well, and people were
Mhm.
talking about how like this is a different Gaethje,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
hopefully he can get back into that rhythm.
Because he knocked out Poirier. That's how good he
Right.
got. Like he was so good that he made Poirier think about retirement after that fight. That's how good he did.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you can now retire with somebody that good, thinking that you did really bad, I mean, he's freaking the high. Like he has most bonus for every fight that he has been in. I think he has that record for most strikes landed by a fighter that lost a fight in the first Poirier fight.
Really?
Yeah, that's crazy. How crazy is that?
That is crazy.
But I think he was winning that fight. He got a little too cocky. He got rocked in the first
Mm-hmm.
fight with Poirier. But yeah, you cannot mess with the diamond like that. He said that something about it was that low kicks that was fucking him up. That's what Poirier said against Gaethje, which I didn't see. If I can remember correctly, I don't remember seeing him throwing that many low kicks in the Paddy Pimblett fight. So it'd be interesting what his game plan is going to be. I see a lot of but it's a lot of boxing. They have to do this one. Hand strikes are a lot faster than kicks. It depends on what kind of stance Poirier has. If Gaethje emphasized that he's doing some wrestling, and for this camp, just straight up wrestling. But if you go to the wrestling part, to Poirier, he was coming up. He was trying to become a wrestler, like Olympic wrestler. Him and his brother, when they were in Georgia, but whenever they moved to Spain, they didn't have any like wrestling gyms and anything like that. So that's the reason why they started doing MMA. But for them, but they have a wrestling background, and even One guy that he backs up that statement is Merab Valashvili. He said he had trained with Tuporia, and he said he has a hard time taking him down. But also Merab is 135. I guess a
Yeah.
145 pounder.
That's interesting. I didn't really know that about Poirier, but
Mm-hmm.
I would not think Gaethje would want to try a new game on this.
No. But he's an All-American. He's from University of Colorado. Northern Colorado. That's where Gaethje went to school. Then he started doing MMA, but he doesn't do much wrestling
Right.
in MMA. He likes striking.
Yeah.
But he has a good striking coach in Trevor Whitman. But he hopefully not the same. Gaethje doesn't show up for Paddy Pimblett shows up.
Yeah. Yeah.
To make it a good fight.
Yeah. Hopefully that was like he was almost insulted that they would put him against Pimblett or something like that, and he just wanted to end it quickly.
Yeah.
And underestimated him. I could see that happening. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. You just try to put him out, just like a freaking hammer in the nail. If you hear that saying, if you hammer every problem looks like a nail. That's how he was looking at him. Put him out of his misery. But Pat Pimble is hard to take. What does it say? Scousers don't get knocked out. That's what he said. It's like, it's true. Scousers don't get knocked out because Gaethje trying to knock him out. He was able to. And he also another thing about Gaethje, he's really cold-blooded. He said he has no feelings at all whenever he's fighting. What's his name? John Anik was brought that up, like how cold-blooded Gaethje is. Like, what do you feel about Michael Chandler? Like, if it would have gone a little longer, he would have been dead. I was going to kill him. Gaethje was good. He had no feelings at all about that. Speaking of banned people, he was having a feud with Strickland, right? Online, talking shit back and forth. Because
Really?
Because Strickland was calling him let me pull that up. Because he wasn't real American. That's what John Strickland was saying about Justin Gaethje. So the original tweet was, Gaethje said, "I'm American, bitch. I don't need one coward support. You, Sean, are relentless, dumb as fuck." And then Strickland said, "If being a spineless bitch makes you a good American, you can have that title. Eat your goy slop. Just do me a favor and just switch your flag to the Israel flag. 5,000, 15,000 cost to every hardworking American not getting paid millions. 13 dead Americans for Israel traitor." And then Gaethje said, "I don't give two shits about you or Israel. God, family, country since day one. You're a dumbass. Fuck you. Bash our country every chance you get. Expect to step foot in the White House grounds. Have a party with the rest of your American-hating goons." Those are two wild boys, too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's no lie.
Gaethje is half Mexican and half German.
Half German. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And he comes from a poor country, Arizona. Poor town.
Town.
They mean like, I want to say coal miners or something like that.
Really? Okay.
That's where it comes from. But that means coming from there to fighting in the White House long, that's a big, yeah. I mean, people come in there, most major leagues come in there. NFL wins, football teams come in there to the White House, baseball players, NBA, soccer, they all come in there to the White House. Not having, you don't often see UFC fighters going in there when they win a championship. And the UFC is considered an American organization, but it's internationally known for the fighters. And then having one card and being the headline for it, that's impressive for somebody coming from Arizona.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah, now the co-main event, Alex Pereira, Cyril Gane. This one is crazy for a different reason. Pereira is potentially one win away from becoming a 3-division champion. That's insane. And he's doing it by moving up to heavyweight. Now the question is, does his power carry up? Because a lightweight, he's terrifying, but heavyweight is a different game. And Gane, he moves like a middleweight. He's technical, fluid, hard to hit. So now you got one of the most dangerous strikers ever against one of the most athletic heavyweights. If Pereira wins this, you have to start talking about him differently, like all-time great conversations. What do you think about this matchup between those two guys?
It'll be interesting to see.
Do you consider this a peak heavyweight match? Because those two guys, like Pereira is a good striker, coming up. I mean, middleweight he dominated, light heavyweight dominated. Now coming out to heavyweight. And Cyril Gane, he coming from a Muay Thai or also a kickboxing background too. Both of them come basically strikers, and both of them are really athletic. I would say Cyril Gane is a little bit more athletic because he's used to the weight already, moving around.
That's my biggest fear or thoughts about that is if Pereira isn't used to moving with this kind of weight, that'll be a serious disadvantage, I think. As far as like accuracy and striking though, and skill, it's really hard to doubt him in any of that. I think he's kind of proven that his skill in striking is one of the best, if not the best, you know?
Yeah. Like some of the guys that he did, like, he just Prochaska twice, put him out. A clean striker like Claudio Roundtree, put him out as well. Yeah, he's scary guy. And one interesting fact about Cyril Gane, he used to prepare, he wanted to become a basketball player before he actually started doing striking. So all the footwork that you see from his fighting, it comes from basketball background because basketball players are really, really big and tall and they have a live footwork. Like that jab that Cyril Gane, it is the equivalent of fencing. Whenever people like do like fencing with swords, it's like this in and out. That's why he just slips in, boom, boom. And for some reason, I want to say he is southpaw, Cyril Gane, which is different for this fight because usually he's primarily southpaw. Usually, what's his name? He has a left hook. This is his favorite weapon for Pereira. But with that jab, we'll see how high the shoulder of Cyril Gane will be to block that left hook. Another thing that Pereira does, he does a jab to the chest. Jab to the chest, trying to like measure his distance. It's not like some people like trying to say measures that. So that boom. So you try to block, parry that. He comes to the right straight. And when you're trying to block, he goes to the body. Again, left hook. Eventually, boom, boom, body. And then eventually we're trying to protect the body, he goes to the head. But in this stance, I don't know if he go to hit to the head because if Cyril Gane is at a stand sideways, he's gonna be in the back of the head. You cannot hit to the back of the head with a left hook. Somebody that's a softball. Also, he has a quick left kick that will be there for Pereira to use against Cyril Gane. For some reason, I've seen a video that he has, those bunions that you get on your feet, on like he has like a freaking bullpen hammer on that freaking foot that he used that as a weapon. I think that's what he knocked out Giro Prochaska with, that freaking bunion that he had on his foot. Because if that's the case, like if you're a southpaw stand, that kick is right there. You hit him with that in the chin every time, dude. You don't buckle.
That's true.
It will be a good weapon to use for somebody that has a crafty footwork because bouncing up and down use your chin a lot. But if you take out one of those chin, you won't be able to move
That's
as
true.
fast.
That's true. That limits the athleticism very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I will say in Pereira's favor is he doesn't get hit very much. And I don't see that changing, So although he's moving up in weight and there is a power difference, like he hasn't dealt with this kind of power maybe, but he doesn't get hit that often. And if he does, it's almost always he's moving backwards and taking it the best possible way.
And he makes you pay for it every time you try to reach for him. He catches you with something.
Yeah.
I wonder if a lot of the guys who are afraid of getting hit coming in. One of the things that we talked during the UFC embedded was that about some fighters they respected him too much because Cyril Gane brought one of Pereira's former opponent for this camp. I don't know if that guy's Russian or something like that. He had like a Russian name. But he said a lot of people respect him too much to actually go strike for strike against him.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's definitely believable.
Yeah. But I mean, would you be afraid getting hit with that left hook?
That's the thing. Yeah. I mean, respect him too much, but he can put most anybody out. So is it? I don't know.
It's respect or caution. There's two things.
Yeah.
What do you call like cautious and He just throw caution into the wind and get knocked out. Go on use shield. One thing that as a factor that might help Cyril Gane, he's coming off he had a title fight with Aspinall. He had a title fight against Ngannou. He is a former interim champion as well. So that seems to be his weight class, which is more natural, rather than Pereira coming up. So he might have some sense, not of entitlement, but he belongs there. He does his weight class. He should try to prove the world that this is, and even though it's an interim title again, he deserves to be the champion in that weight class, even though somewhere against Pereira.
Yeah, I could see that.
But man, Pereira is I call him Thanos, just collecting stones. But instead of stones, he collects UFC belts.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting how this. But I will consider this the most peak athletic heavyweight match of modern days. Because we never had a Kane versus Fedor Emelianenko. They were really athletic. We never had a John Jones versus Ngannou fight. One that was kind of close to this one was DC versus Stipe Miocic, but also DC was over 40 at the time. Funny, not really that much athletic per se. But this will be the most athletic because both of them can put each other out, and they're really fast. Now let's run through some of the other fights. Sean O'Malley versus Ayman Sahabi. Ayman Sahabi is coming a 7-5 winning streak against Sean O'Malley, in which he's looking for a finish in this fight. According to UFC Embedded, last time he knocked out somebody was Aljamain Sterling back in 2023. He hasn't knocked out anybody since. Yeah. So he wants to go back to that, which should be impressive. This is Faraz Sahabi's brother. And also, he's 38 years old, Ayman Sahabi. But he's on a winning streak.
I have a feeling he's going to be pretty well rounded, right? I mean, coming from that gym, yeah, I hate to say it, but I feel like Sean's got his hands full with this one.
Yeah. One of his fights that Sahabi won recently was Jose Aldo. But he has like 7-5 win streak. His record is 14-2. So he's 7-2 at 38 years old. So I don't know if he started later in life. He's more like a grappling guy. But I mean, he seems to have found the rhythm now that he's 5-7 winning streak. O'Malley is always interesting because of he's a star. He more chaotic wise, but Ayman seems more calm person. Do you think Sean O'Malley is being protected as far as a star? I think he's being fed potentially like good fighters. I can't remember who did Sean O'Malley fight last.
I thought he had some pretty rough fights the last couple times.
Son Yadon, that's what he fought against.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't be my dumb, but I will be your dom. Then he Balashvili. They had that, but I mean, it's not Punk that he's going against. Sahabi. It's a pretty good fight against him. Another fight going on is Michael Chandler versus Rufi. You already know what it is. Violence. Chandler does some fight safe. He fights for moments, and Rufi is a new hungry guy trying to make a name. This is a classic veteran versus prospect energy. Do you think if Chandler loses this fight, he should go into real estate? Selling.
Yes, I felt like that for a while. I can't believe his record is as good as it is.
Yeah.
I just don't remember him beating anyone.
But not the UFC. Most of it was Bellator. In Bellator, he was good. Him and Eddie Alvarez were really, really good. They were the two top dogs in Bellator. But when he came to UFC, he had Dan Hooker. He beat Dan Hooker in that fight. Then he went against Oliveira. I can't remember if that was a title fight or not. But he can't beat by Oliveira. Lost against Justin Gaethje. Then 2021. Then he beat Tony Ferguson with that crane kick, jumping crane kick. I think that was, if I can't remember, it was knockout of the year or he was like contender for knockout of the year, that fight. But then he lost. Dustin Poirier lost against Oliveira again, carried him as a backstrap at that time. He never got the Conor. He's lost against Conor McGregor on dispute alone. Outside the cage. Never fought him, but in 2024, yeah, he took big hiatus. 2022, he fought November that year. He didn't fight again to November 2024. He's been waiting for Conor McGregor. He lost against Oliveira, then lost against Paddy Pimblett, and now he's going against Rufi this time. I don't know who his manager is, but he has a fucking good manager. Because Madison Square Garden cards are the main ones that he gets called up for. Main cards, and now that one-on-one fight card. Well, technically, the UFC does kind of owe him a favor for making him hold up for that Conor McGregor fight for this long. So I guess returning the favor.
Yeah.
I see you at the top. Top of where, man? Top of what? But yeah, I don't know if he will to win this one. Paddy Pimblett was decisively beaten. Paddy Pimblett, his last fight, last year in April. So, I mean, is he getting better? I don't know. Charles Oliveira was on his back for the whole round.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
He blew his knee. I think he blew his knee when the way that he had a triangle wrapped up Oliveira. But I'm not sure if he was now another American AEF Bo Nickel. He's an upcoming star. Big he's a lead wrestler. But I'm starting to see what happens when he faces adversity. Does he evolve? Or how do you think he has hit ceiling? Himself, Bo Nickel, he lost against Dutch guy, Renier de Ridder. But he last year in May, but he's able to bounce back and KO Rodolfo Vieira. He was also, people were a lot of critic against him when he went against Paul Craig. He refused to engage as far as grappling part. He was really vocal when he won his last fight. Fuck you, everybody. And Kyle Duckus, he had a lot of chaos and submission lately, including against your boy, Eric Anders. That's literally his nickname, Eric Anders. He's retired recently. KO in the second round. He KO Michael Pereira, submitted Gerald Mershar. Well, no, he got KO by Eric Anders, your boy. Roman Dolitz, but he submitted Jamie Pickett, 2022, 4 years ago. That is a long layoff. He was 2021, 2020, 2021, 2022. He didn't fight to 2025. Carl Deckers, yeah. Fought twice last year, and he's supposed to fight Vicente Luque early on this year in the April 11th card. It was canceled, but now he's going against Bo Nickel. What did Vicente Luque fought against Kevin Gastelum recently, right? But he moved to 185. But now, I don't know. I think Bo Nickel might have. We see what kind of Bo Nickel shows up.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be curious to see.
Because Kyle Douglas, he's in a 6-5 winning streak currently. But sometimes he gets too conservative per se. For example, that Paul Craig fight, he refused to go down, like grapple anything. He's just trying to play it safe. But did he learn his lesson from that? Because then he came a little too aggressive against Renderer, and then Renderer put him out with a knee to the chest. Anytime he tried to go for a takedown, stuff the takedown, boom, knee to the chest. And that, like you were saying, those hits to the body, to the breadbasket, it does add up.
Yeah. 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 Oof. I can't imagine taking a knee to the chest over and over again.
Yeah. Well, you're trying to go for a takedown because usually you go hands out.
Yeah. Yeah. Wide open and your momentum is carrying you into the knee. Brutal.
Your solar plexus is going to be sore the next day. I feel like you've been getting CPR the night before.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
But yeah, it would be interesting how these fights go. Another quick shout out is Diego Lopez versus Steve Garcia. That'd be interesting one. Diego Lopez, he seems to be liking Oklahoma. He moved to Stillwater, Oklahoma, where the Oklahoma State college team is, the wrestling team. He moved there 2 or 3 months ago, but he lives in Oklahoma now, Diego Lopez. The Cowboys. He likes that over there. He's seen some events to see him over there whenever they have wrestling event. Like duels. Diego Lopez shows up over there with his Oklahoma State t-shirt, his cowboy hat. Now here's some wild context around this event. This is the first White House fight card. Pereira was originally supposed to fight Tom Aspinall for that championship. This would be an undisputed heavyweight title, but now it's an interim title fight. Also, this event is being pushed hard into mainstream CBS major broadcast platforms. This is just your MMA fans anymore. This is for everyone. The real question is the UFC trying to become a true mainstream sport like the NFL, or even bigger, something closer to global entertainment like the Olympics? Now you say APN. What is it going to be a televised event? Hard to watch. It's just Paramount Plus. But some of the fights might be, you have to look up their local, check up your local listing. I say that. Check out your local listing for your next preview. Yeah, put me to Paramount Plus. I want to do that. I already have one. Oh, yeah. It's not that many. One, two, three. So you have five. Usually it's the main car. It's seven. Oh, we forgot to mention one car, one fight. The people's not so much athletic heavyweight title. Not heavyweight title, but the fight. Josh Hockett versus Derek Maposo's Hot Lewis.
I was wondering why. Yeah, I was gonna mention that we skipped over him.
Forgot
How could
about
we
that
forget
one.
Derek?
Yeah. The president's favorite black guy, Derek Lewis. Yeah,
True, but
it's definitely true. But he's trying to represent for the president. He want to make it look bad. That's what Derek Lewis said.
yeah,
But Josh Hockett, the whitest Mexican I've ever seen. He trying to sound like a cholo Mexican, but because that's how he wears the bandana. He's always in that persona, talking about chonas and stuff like that. Yeah,
that's
interesting. Another
funny.
thing interesting. He did wrestle his senior year against Bo Nickel in college in the NCAA champion tournament. I think he wrestled him in the quarterfinals. Yeah, he wrestled in the quarterfinals thing. He used to wrestle for Fresno State, I think. But he used to wrestle 184 back then. Because he's not a big heavyweight. You look at him, Josh Hawkins. But I think, in my humble opinion, I think he'd be able to beat Derek Lewis if he put the volume that he did against Curtis Blades. Now, if he does that, do you think he skyrockets for the title?
That would definitely mean something.
Mm-hmm.
If it launches him that far, I feel like Derek Lewis is kind of like on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
Still definitely lethal, but yeah, I think it's definitely a big jump in his career if Josh can do that.
Yeah, because he beat number 5 in Curtis Blades last time in the decision. Even though Curtis Blades didn't think he lost that fight. I think Josh Hawkins won it by most middle fingers thrown in the fight. But now, on the flip side, if Derek Lewis wins, does he take his shorts off? Well,
I mean, you never know. It's whatever he's feeling at the time.
dude, Secret Service is jump on him with towels to try and cover him. Like, no, don't do it here. We have Martin Luther King talking down the street. You gonna do this shit here in the front of the White
Yeah,
House? No, how dare you, sir? You consecrated our sacred grounds.
it'd be funny if he had like American flag underwear.
Have a bald eagle on his. In the eagle soar. That would be wow if he did that. Derek Lewis. And there's no telling what a post fight interview is gonna be like with these two guys.
That's true. Yeah,
I can imagine. Josh Hockett already started. He started talking shit to Alex Pereira when they were walking. They saw each other in public. And he started talking shit to Alex Pereira, calling a pussy and stuff like that in public. Like, no, you speak English. And he was going up an escalator. And Pereira was walking around with his soccer jersey from Brazil. It's like, so no, I think he did move to Brazil, Pereira, for this camp. He's training out of there now because he used to see in Connecticut. What's it called? I can't remember the name now. It's a nice town in Connecticut. I can't remember the name. Danbury, Connecticut. That's what he was training out of before. He got the keys to the city. Because I think that's where Glover Teixeira moved into. Now, talk about lineage. Chuck Liddell, his coach, I can't remember his name is Tiki. He always talk about the boogeyman being Glover Teixeira. He's a guy that he was really good fighting, but he's never made it to the UFC up to that point because he had some visa issues. He was always the boogeyman they were talking about. When he came to the UFC, he was able to beat guys. I mean, he fought all the way to his a title against John Jones, which his shoulder got dislocated at the beginning of the fight. was able to be the same at that in that fight, but he was able to fight his way back. And after 40, he was able to become a champion. Let alone there was a bigger boogeyman that Glover Teixeira was training with that he's brought up again. Alex Pereira, which is now most of people's nightmare whenever they as far as matchup. So that talk about that lineage: Chuck Liddell, Glover Teixeira, Alex Pereira, all three legends in there.
Yeah, that's pretty insane to think about.
Going for the Iceman to two boogeymen. The another thing we're gonna switch the subject is because this is where things get real. Ben Askren, a guy who not long ago, no pun intended, almost died, double lung transplant, and now he's coming back to compete. That's no normal comeback. That's survival. Turn it back into competition, and it makes you ask, what does competition even mean at that point? Because for most fighters, winning is everything. But for Askren, just stepping on the mat might be the win. What's your take on this? Not even a freak, a year, like you said earlier. Since he has lung transplant, and now double lung transplant, now competing.
I feel like it is just the victory of stepping on the mats. I mean, proving that he could do it, after the doctor said, you won't be able to do nearly as much. Probably a lot of it's to prove it to himself, but he also seems to, it seemed like in a lot of like the videos he was posting of him getting better, it was to also encourage other people to show what's possible when you go through stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, to me, I expect the victory to him is stepping on the mats and showing how far you can come with hard work.
Yeah, that's just heartwarming to see him coming back to the sport that he loves so much. Because he loves so much, he invested so much in it. When he was planning on competing in RAF, well, that's what the competition is going to be against Bilal Muhammad. But he was training for competing in this. Yeah, I mean he was on TRT and all kinds of stuff back then, and then the necrotizing pneumonia that he got sidelined him for a year, and then for life it seemed like. But now that you said stepping back in there, it's heartwarming to see him stepping back in there, also giving back to the sport in which he love, because it brings views to that sport as well for wrestling. Talk about a little bit of his legacy. He was the most accomplished wrestler ever, NCAA champion, Olympian. He was the undefeated Bellator champ. He was also undefeated when he was in ONE FC. But what do casual fans remember? The massive down knockout that Jake Paul lost. And so does this comeback rewrite that narrative, or is something deeper than legacy? Like you said, probably something more, a moral victory, perhaps, coming back into competition. But the match itself against Bilal Muhammad. Bilal is disciplined. He's a cardio machine. Something you don't want to go when you have just new lungs.
Yeah.
But Askren is really scrappy. He's really good at scrambling. Well, physically, after everything he has been through, what does he have left? Honestly, does it even matter at this point? He's trying to have go out there and just compete, like doing the things that he loves.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I have to think he can't be relying on, scrappiness or his physical conditioning. He has to be thinking along the lines of, you know, kind of like we've talked about before, the old guy in jiu-jitsu, get the tricks up your sleeve. I
Hmm.
feel like he's got to be relying on that,
Yeah,
using strategy, using technique, to get him through. Because, yeah, I don't think there's any way he's at the same level of conditioning and athleticism as his opponent.
yeah, yeah. So he's known for being he's like the Eddie Bravo of wrestling. They name a wrestling type funk style because he was able to be so funky, be able to do different scramble and stuff like that. That did not require as much athleticism. He's really flexible in position. For example, one of the things I can remember was somebody was trying to take him down, and he grabbed the person's both heels and he kicked him back. So he literally swept him into their back for a takedown. Just those funky shit like that, like doing out of the blue that I don't know if you heard the funk roll you hear before. Somebody trying to take you down, just do like a full roll, grab one of their ankles, and as you do a full roll. Actually, they're bringing their top body weight has to roll forward because you're holding onto the leg. As they're rolling forward, they had to brace one arm or the other one to be able to tuck and roll. And as you're doing that, Ben Askren has one of your legs and elevating it and getting behind you. So he's grabbing and scrambling out of you, or either get behind you, or he put it on your back for a pin. That he's known for. So, well, it seems like it's little athletic stuff to for a roll, but he's able to do a floor roll like he usually does. It is dangerous to go against him. Considering Belal Muhammad, he did have a match against David Carr earlier. Granted, he is a wrestler that's in his prime right now. As far as trying to still make the world team, still trying to make the Olympic team in David Carr, but he tech fall Belal Muhammad 10-0 in his last fight. But we'll see. I'm not sure what kind of discipline Belal Muhammad has as far as wrestling, because I've seen a video of him against RBY, Roman Bravo Young. Roman Bravo Young is 133 pounder. He was giving him the business against Belal Muhammad. Yeah. So there's no striking in this, so we'll see. There's no submissions either. So we'll see how he does against Ben Askren. Also, again, the theme of this episode is fighting versus surviving. In the case of Ben Askren, ego versus gratitude, in which Ben Askren can be any more grateful now after having that happen. Competition versus purpose. Me, it feels at home. What happens when fighting isn't about winning anymore? That seems like a really nice place to be. Whenever it sounds like a loser thing to say, but when you're fighting not to win anymore, it's just trying to be, because wins will come regardless if you do better. And we talked about this in previous episode about how much of a shame it will be if we're competing. The only thing you get out there is wins and losses rather than getting better positions and better moves and different stuff like that. But it is a nice place. And yeah, so like going back to Ayman said, if there's no room for anxiety with your cup is full of gratitude. And you're getting to that point in your career being grateful in competing and going out there and giving your best. It's important lesson to teach kids too nowadays, because so much going on as far as immediate gratification. Immediate gratification, my wins and losses, but some things that you do takes time to develop. Not just it's just going to show that you win. It's not like a test, because a test is not really pass or fail. Most of the time, you have different scales in which you get graded on in the test or school, and then you might not be good at this side, you might be good at another one. So you gravitate to one more than others, but you're able to learn better and improve along the way throughout the whole year, which that's what you want to do, whether it's in school, whether it's in the sport that you're doing, or any other thing. Even at your job, you can do that as well. Just gradually getting better. Well, now let's get controversial. This might be the biggest UFC event ever. Pereira winning makes him all-time great instantly, being at 3 times. I'm not 3 times, but 3 division champion. Gaethje winning messes up the UFC future plans because how much of stardom to Poirier is. And it won't be the first time that he does something like that, because he derailed the Ferguson's versus Khabib Nurmagomedov fight. He is no stranger to them. And Askren's return is more meaningful than any title fight this year. Would you agree with that? In the biggest scheme of things. So at the end of the day, this week is about more than fights. It's about moments, history, legacy, and perspective. You got fighters chasing belts, and then you got someone like Askren who's just grateful to compete again. In that contrast, that's what makes combat sports so powerful. So as we head into this event, just remember, from fighting for belts to fighting for life, this is what it's really about. Do you want to close out?
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Give us a listen on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and iTunes. Give us a follow on Instagram and let us know what you like and what you don't like. See you guys next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Mad Matters podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube, so you never miss an episode. Drop us a review, share with your training partners, and keep rolling on and off the mat. Until next time, keep fighting, keep learning, keep growing.